The universe's most dangerous predator tried to hunt a human. Once Part 1, First Contact, the morning air bit at Jack Mason's face as he hiked along the narrow mountain trail. Frost crunched under his boots. His breath formed small clouds that disappeared quickly in the Alaskan wilderness. Jack liked it this way, quiet, cold, and far from other people. 5 years after leaving the military, Jack had found peace as a park ranger. The wilderness didn't ask questions about his past. It didn't care about the things he had seen or done. The forest accepted him as he was. Jack stopped at the edge of a cliff and looked out over the valley. Pine trees stretched for miles, broken only by the silver ribbon of a river. He pulled out his binoculars and scanned the area, checking for signs of poachers or lost hikers. Finding nothing unusual, he continued his patrol. 12 miles away, at the North Star Research Station, Diane, Porter frowned at her computer screen. The atmospheric readings didn't make sense. She brushed her brown hair away from her face and called over her colleague. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the screen. "These energy spikes started 3 days ago and they're getting stronger." The computer showed strange patterns unlike anything she had seen before. As a former military communications specialist, Diane had been trained to notice unusual signals. These were definitely unusual. "Could be equipment failure," her colleague suggested. Diane shook her head. "3 different sensors are picking it up. Something's happening in the upper atmosphere." What Diane didn't know, what no human knew, was that something had entered Earth's atmosphere 3 days ago. Something that had traveled across 17 galaxies. Something that hunted. In a clearing 6 miles from Jack's position, the air shimmered slightly. If anyone had been watching, they might have noticed the strange way the light bent around a particular spot about 7 feet tall. They might have noticed how the pine needles on the ground moved when nothing seemed to be stepping on them. But no one was watching except the wildlife. A fox froze, sensing danger, then bolted away. Birds stopped singing. The forest went quiet in a way that spoke of fear. Zixkrath of the Vorax adjusted his cloaking device and scanned the area. The atmospheric composition of this planet was acceptable, though the oxygen levels were higher than he preferred. The gravity was slightly stronger than his homeworld, but his exoskeleton could compensate. This was his 147th hunt across 29 different worlds. The Vorax were known across the settled galaxies as the ultimate predators. For 8,000 years, they had traveled the stars seeking worthy prey. Their hunting trophies filled vast museums on their homeworld. Their skills were legendary, their failures non-existent. But recently the thrill had faded for Zixkrath. Too many hunts had become routine. Too many species followed predictable patterns when pursued. He needed something new, something challenging. The Vorax Council had debated for decades whether to visit this isolated planet. Reports from long-range scans were interesting but inconclusive. The dominant species appeared to be soft-skinned bipeds with no natural weapons or defenses, not promising for a good hunt. But there was something about their rapid spread across their planet, their adaptability to different environments, that had finally convinced the Council to authorize an expedition. Zixkrath was the first hunter sent to evaluate these humans. If they proved worthy prey, more would follow. He moved through the forest without making a sound, his 6-limbed body perfectly balanced, his sensory organs taking in everything. The Vorax had evolved from ambush, predators on a harsh world. Their skin was armored with overlapping plates that could withstand most attacks. Their forearms ended in retractable claws that could slice through metal. Their vision extended well beyond the spectrum visible to humans. After studying the locals for 2 days, Zixkrath had chosen his target. The human called Jack Mason moved differently than the others. He was alert, careful, experienced. He might provide at least some challenge before the end. Jack reached the research cabin by mid-afternoon. It was one of several small outposts scattered throughout the national park, stocked with emergency supplies and basic equipment. He needed to check the radio and weather monitoring systems. As he approached the cabin, he slowed down. Something felt wrong. Jack couldn't explain it, but his instincts, the same instincts that had kept him alive during 3 combat tours, were screaming at him. He scanned the area carefully. Nothing seemed out of place. The cabin door was closed. No footprints in the light dusting of snow around the building, yet something was off. Jack drew the pistol he carried for protection against wildlife. Moving slowly, he circled the cabin. The back window was open an inch. He was certain he had closed and locked it during his last visit a week ago. Inside, Jack found the cabin undisturbed except for one thing. The emergency radio had been disassembled. The components were laid out neatly on the table, as if someone had been studying how it worked. Jack picked up the main circuit board. Who would hike 12 miles into the wilderness just to take apart a radio? From the trees 200 yards away, Zixcrath watched the human examine the radio parts. Interesting. Most prey species would have entered the shelter without hesitation. This one sensed danger despite the careful precautions Zixcrath had taken. The hunter felt a spark of excitement. Perhaps this hunt would not be so disappointing after all. Jack reassembled the radio quickly and sent a message to the research station. North Star, this is Mason. Someone's been in the ridge cabin. Radio was taken apart. Any personnel in my sector I should know about? After a moment of static, Diane's voice came through. Negative, Jack. No authorized personnel in your area, but we've been picking up strange readings. Maybe you should come in. I'll finish my patrol first. Something doesn't feel right out here. Jack decided to camp near the cabin that night. He built a small fire and kept his rifle close. The night was clear and cold with stars filling the sky. Jack couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He was right. Zixcrath observed from the darkness. His body temperature adjusted to match the surroundings, making him invisible to both normal vision and heat detection. The hunter was impressed. Unlike most prey, which grew careless when tired, the human maintained awareness of his surroundings. He positioned himself with his back protected and kept scanning the tree line. Zixcrath decided this hunt would require his full skills. No quick kill. No simple traps. He would test this human. Learn his capabilities before taking his trophy. The hunter retreated silently into the forest to prepare. Neither predator nor prey knew that their contest would change galactic history forever. Neither knew that on this remote planet, far from the centers of interstellar civilization, one of the universe's most fundamental assumptions was about to be challenged. The assumption that humans were prey. The universe's most dangerous predator tried to hunt a human. Once Part 2. The hunt begins. Jack woke before sunrise. The fire had died during the night, leaving only cold ashes. He felt tired. His sleep had been broken by strange noises in the forest. Twice he had gotten up to check but found nothing. He packed his gear quickly and ate a protein bar for breakfast. The strange feeling of being watched hadn't gone away. Jack had learned to trust this feeling during his time in the military. It had saved his life more than once. As he shouldered his backpack, Jack noticed something odd on the ground near his campsite. Small depressions in the dirt like footprints, but wrong somehow. The pattern wasn't human, and it wasn't from any animal he recognized. He took pictures with his phone before continuing his patrol. Miles away, Zixcrath was preparing. The hunt had officially begun. He had spent the night studying the human, learning his patterns. Now he would test the human's abilities. The Vorax hunter removed several small devices from his pack. These were hunting tools used across countless worlds. Each one was designed to confuse, trap, or weaken prey. Zixcrath placed them carefully, along the path he predicted the human would take. Jack hiked steadily through the morning. The deeper he went into the forest, the stronger his sense of unease grew. Around midday, he stopped by a stream to refill his water bottle. As he knelt, something caught his eye. A reflection in the water that shouldn't be there. He looked up quickly but saw nothing unusual among the trees. He stood slowly, hand moving to his pistol. Something was definitely out there. Something watching him. "I know you're there," Jack called out. "Show yourself." Nothing answered except the wind in the pines. Jack continued his patrol, now moving more carefully. He kept to cover when possible and checked his back trail often. His training had kicked in fully now. He was no longer a park ranger on a routine patrol. He was a soldier in unknown territory. 15 minutes later, Jack found the first trap. It was almost invisible, a thin wire stretched across the trail at ankle height. If he hadn't been looking carefully, he would have tripped and fallen. But this was no human trap. The wire hummed faintly and gave off a slight blue glow in the shadows. Jack took a long stick and touched it to the wire. The stick instantly froze, solid. Frost spread along its length. Jack dropped it in shock. The frozen stick shattered on the ground like glass. "What the hell?" he whispered. Back at the North Star research station, Diane was arguing with her boss. "These readings don't make sense," she insisted. "Something entered our atmosphere 3 days ago." Commander Alan Wright shook his head. "If something that big had come through, NORAD would have picked it up." "Maybe they did," Diane said. "I have a friend at the military base. He says they've been on high alert since Tuesday but won't say why." Wright frowned. "What exactly are you suggesting?" Before Diane could answer, another scientist burst into the room. "You need to see this," she said, holding up a tablet. "We just picked up an energy signature unlike anything I've ever seen. It's about 6 miles from Jack Mason's last reported position." Jack carefully stepped around the strange trap and continued forward, now moving like a hunter himself. His eyes scanned constantly for more dangers. He found 2 more traps in the next hour, one that seemed designed to release some kind of gas, and another that looked like it would create a net of the same glowing blue material. This was starting to feel like a war zone, but not like any war Jack had fought in. The technology was completely foreign. Military, terrorists, some kind of experiment. None of the explanations made sense this deep in the Alaskan wilderness. Jack's radio crackled. "Mason, this is North Star. Do you copy?" He pulled out the radio. "I copy, North Star. Go ahead." Diane's voice came through with static. "Jack, we're picking up strange energy readings near your position. We're sending a helicopter to extract you. Something's not right." "Tell me about it," Jack replied. "I found 3 traps on my patrol route. Not standard issue technology I've never seen before. Can you make it to the extraction point on Ridge Peak?" Jack checked his map. "Affirmative. ETA 2 hours if the path is clear." "Be careful, Jack," Diane said. "Whatever's out there, it's nothing we've dealt with before." Jack put away the radio and changed course toward Ridge Peak. He moved carefully, avoiding the main trails. If someone was hunting him, they would expect him to take the quickest route to the extraction point. Zixkrath watched the human through specialized lenses that could track even the faintest heat signature. Interesting. The human had discovered the basic traps much faster than expected. Most prey would have blundered right into them. Even more interesting, instead of panicking or fleeing directly to safety, the human was now moving like a hunter himself. Keeping to cover, checking for traps, unpredictable in his movements. The Vorax felt something he hadn't experienced in many hunts. Genuine excitement. This human might actually provide a challenge. Zixkrath decided to escalate the hunt. He activated his body's camouflage system, his skin changing color and texture to blend perfectly with the forest. Then he began to move parallel to the human's path, silent despite his size. Jack sensed the change immediately. The feeling of being watched had intensified. Whatever was stalking him had gotten closer. He took cover behind a fallen tree and scanned the forest carefully. For a moment, just a split second, he thought he saw something move among the trees. Not an animal. Something large walking upright. But when he looked directly at the spot, there was nothing there. Jack's mind raced through possibilities. A person in some kind of advanced camouflage. But the movement had seemed wrong for a human. Too fluid. Too tall. His radio crackled again. "Jack, the helicopter is 20 minutes out." Diane's voice sounded tense. "The energy readings are getting stronger. Whatever it is, it's moving. And Jack, it's moving toward you." Jack keyed the radio. "I see nothing yet, but something's definitely out there." As he spoke, a small metal object landed on the ground near him. It began to pulse with a blue light. Jack's combat instincts took over. He threw himself behind a large rock just as the device exploded. But it wasn't a normal explosion. Instead of fire and shrapnel, it released a cloud of glittering particles that hung in the air where Jack had been standing. From his new position, Jack watched as a bird flew through the cloud. The bird froze in midair, then fell to the ground dead. This was no human technology, and with that realization, everything changed. Jack wasn't facing a human enemy. He was facing something else entirely. The hunter had become the hunted, but Jack Mason had no intention of becoming prey. The universe's most dangerous predator tried to hunt a human. Once, Part 3. Turning the tables, Jack stayed behind the rock, his mind racing. The blue cloud slowly disappeared, but the dead bird remained on the ground. Whatever he was facing wasn't human. The thought should have terrified him, but instead a strange calm settled over Jack. The unknown enemy had just made a critical mistake. They had shown their hand too early. Jack looked around carefully. He was in a difficult position, halfway to Ridge Peak with an unknown hunter on his trail. The helicopter wouldn't arrive for another 15 minutes. He needed to change the rules of this game. He pulled out his phone and took pictures of the dead bird and the remains of the strange device. Then he sent them to Diane with a text. "Not human tech. Don't send helicopter. Will lead threat away from station. Track my phone." Jack knew he couldn't outrun whatever was hunting him. But he could choose the battlefield. Zixcrath was puzzled. The trap should have incapacitated the human, yet somehow the target had sensed danger and moved in time. Now the human was moving again, but not toward the extraction point mentioned in the radio communication. Instead, he was heading deeper, into the forest toward rougher terrain. Most prey ran for safety when hunted. This one was deliberately choosing a more dangerous path. Fascinating. The Vorax hunter followed, moving silently through the trees. His sensory organs picked up the human's heat signature easily, but something felt wrong. The trail was too obvious, too direct. Jack moved quickly but carefully through the forest. He was heading toward an area he knew well, a maze of narrow canyons and rocky outcrops. As he walked, he broke branches in obvious ways and left clear footprints. Every few minutes, he took items from his pack and placed them where they would be easily found. His water bottle, his extra ammunition, his flashlight. A trail of breadcrumbs for his hunter to follow. At the research station, Diane stared at the images Jack had sent. The device looked like nothing she had ever seen before. She showed them to Susan Miller, the station's biologist. "What could kill a bird that quickly?" Diane asked. Susan studied the images. "Nothing on Earth that I know of," she said quietly. "Diane, you need to call Commander Wright now." Zixcrath found the human's water container and examined it carefully. The technology was primitive but effective. He was learning about his prey with each discovered item. The human was showing intelligence and planning. But why leave behind valuable supplies? It made no sense unless it was a trap. The realization came too late. As Zixcrath moved forward, a hidden wire triggered Jack's improvised alarm. Rocks tumbling down a small slope, making enough noise to pinpoint the hunter's position. Jack was waiting. From his hidden spot 30 yards away, he finally saw his enemy as the camouflage system faltered for a moment during rapid movement. The sight froze his blood. Tall, six-limbed, with armor-like skin reflecting the afternoon sun. Not human, not even from Earth, an alien. The word seemed absurd even in his thoughts, but the evidence was right in front of him. Jack aimed his rifle carefully and fired 3 quick shots. The bullets hit their target, but seemed to do little damage. The alien's skin deflected them like armor. But Jack had learned something crucial. The alien was physical. It could be hit. And if it could be hit, it could be hurt. Zixcrath felt the human's primitive projectiles strike his outer plates. They caused no damage but sent a shock through his system. In thousands of hunts across dozens of worlds, no prey had ever managed to hit him during the stalking phase. The shame was intense. The human was proving to be exceptional prey. Zixcrath sent a quick message to his ship. orbiting high above Earth. Target species shows unusual capabilities. Hunt continues. Send no reinforcements. This was now a matter of honor. He would complete this hunt alone. Jack moved quickly after firing, knowing his position was compromised. He had seen what he needed to see. Bullets wouldn't stop the creature, but they had affected it somehow. It had flinched. It could be surprised, it could be afraid. Night was approaching. Jack needed to use the darkness to his advantage. He reached the canyon area just as the sun began to set. The maze of rock formations would limit the alien's ability to track him by heat if it had that capability. Jack found a sheltered spot between two large boulders and checked his supplies. 1 canteen of water left, 5 protein bars, rifle with 17 rounds remaining, pistol with a full magazine, hunting knife, fire starter, first aid kit. Not much to fight an alien with advanced technology, but Jack had something else: knowledge of the environment and a lifetime of training. The alien might be stronger and have better technology, but Jack was on his home turf. As darkness fell, Jack decided to do something unexpected. Instead of hiding, he would hunt the hunter. At the research station, Commander Wright arrived with a small team of military personnel. Their expressions were grim as they examined the evidence Diane had gathered. "We've had reports of unusual activity for the past week," Wright explained. "Atmospheric disturbances, strange sightings, but nothing concrete until now." "What about Jack?" Diane asked, worried about her friend. "Mason can take care of himself better than most," Wright said. "But we're sending in a special forces team at first light. Whatever this thing is, it picked the wrong human to hunt." Deep in the forest, Zixcrath was experiencing something unfamiliar: frustration. The human had disappeared from his sensors. The rocky terrain interfered with his tracking technology, and the rapidly cooling night air made heat signatures harder to distinguish. The hunter had become wary. For the first time in many years, Zixcrath checked his surroundings carefully, alert for traps. The human was not behaving like prey. He was behaving like a competitor. Jack moved silently through the darkness, circling back toward the alien's last position. Years of military training had prepared him for this. Moving without sound, using every shadow, becoming part of the environment. He didn't need to defeat the alien in direct combat. He just needed to survive until help arrived. And to do that, he would keep his enemy off balance and confused. The hunter was about to learn what it meant to face a human who refused to be prey. The universe's most dangerous predator tried to hunt a human. Once Part 4. The revelation dawn broke over the Alaskan wilderness. Jack had not slept. He had spent the night moving through the canyon maze, setting small traps and false trails. His military training had included survival against human enemies. Now he was applying those same skills against something far more dangerous. The temperature had dropped below freezing during the night. Jack's breath formed clouds in the cold air. He was tired and hungry, but his mind remained sharp. Survival depended on it. He had managed to circle behind the alien twice during the night. Each time he observed it carefully before disappearing again. The creature was tall, with 4 arms and 2 legs. Its skin looked like overlapping plates of armor. Most importantly, Jack had noticed it checking some kind of device on its arm regularly. Some kind of tracking system, Jack guessed. Technology he could use against the hunter. Zixcrath was growing increasingly frustrated. The hunt had now lasted nearly 24 hours, far longer than most. The human kept disappearing from his sensors only to reappear in unexpected places. Twice during the night, Zixcrath had sensed the human behind him, a position no prey should ever occupy. The Vorax hunter checked his tracking device again. It showed the human's heat signature about 200 yards ahead, not moving. Either the human was resting or setting another trap. Zixcrath decided on a direct approach. He activated his most advanced hunting tools, sensory enhancers that would detect even the slightest movement or sound. He would end this hunt now. Jack watched from his hidden position as the alien moved toward the decoy he had created. He had removed his jacket, filled it with rocks for weight, and placed his emergency heat pack inside it. From a distance, it would give off the same heat signature as a human body. As the alien approached the decoy, Jack made his move. He had found a loose boulder positioned on the edge of a small cliff, With all his strength, he pushed it over. The boulder crashed down, missing the alien but cutting off its escape route. Jack immediately fired 3 shots at the device on the creature's arm. His aim was true. The device sparked and went dark. Zixkrath roared in anger as his tracking system failed. The sound echoed through the canyon, a deep, inhuman cry that sent birds flying from nearby trees. The hunter was now cut off in unfamiliar terrain with his primary hunting tool disabled. For the first time, Zixkrath felt a new emotion during a hunt: doubt. At the research station, Commander Wright's team was preparing to move out when Diane received a call on her satellite phone. "It's Jack," she said, surprised. "He's alive." Jack spoke quickly, his voice low. "I need information. This thing hunting me isn't human. It's using technology I've never seen before." Wright took the phone. "Mason, this is Commander Wright. We're sending in a team to extract you." "Negative," Jack replied. "Don't send anyone else in. This thing is dangerous. But I've figured out some weaknesses. It doesn't like the cold. It moves slower as the temperature drops, and it can't track me as well in the rocky areas." "What exactly are we dealing with here, Mason?" Jack took a deep breath. "You're not going to believe this, sir, but I'm being hunted by something not from Earth, an alien. Tall, 6 limbs, armored skin, advanced technology." There was silence on the other end. Then Wright spoke again. "Actually, we've been monitoring unusual activity in orbit for the past week. Something entered our atmosphere 3 days ago. Something big. I need to know how to fight it," Jack said. Susan Miller, the biologist, had been listening. She took the phone. "Jack, this is Susan. If what you're describing is real, you need to understand what you're facing. This creature likely evolved in a different environment than humans. Our unique abilities might be your advantage." "What abilities?" Jack asked. "Humans are persistence hunters," Susan explained. "We evolved to chase prey to exhaustion. We can regulate our body temperature better than almost any species on Earth. We can keep going long after other animals would collapse from heat or exhaustion." "You're saying I should wear it down?" "Exactly. Most predators are adapted for short bursts of speed or strength. They're not built for extended pursuit. If this thing evolved as an ambush predator, it might not have our endurance." Jack thought about this. "It does seem to rest more frequently than I would expect." "Use that," Susan urged. "Make it work hard, make it chase you, force it to burn energy. And Jack, humans are also uniquely adaptable. We can improvise and use tools in ways other species can't even imagine." As Jack ended the call, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't just running anymore. He had a strategy. Zixkrath examined his damaged tracking device. It was beyond repair. He would have to hunt the old way, using only his natural senses. It was humiliating. No prey had ever damaged his equipment before. The Vorax hunter activated his communication system to contact his ship. He needed updated information about human physiology. But before he could send the message, he sensed movement. The human was on the move again, visible now at the top of a ridge. Jack stood in plain sight for just a moment before disappearing again. A clear challenge. Zixkrath followed, his powerful limbs carrying him up the rocky slope easily. But as he reached the top, the human was nowhere to be seen. Another trick. The hunt continued through the day. Jack led the alien on a grueling chase through the roughest terrain he could find. Up steep slopes, through icy streams, across fields of loose rocks. Always staying just far enough ahead to be safe, but close enough to keep the hunter interested. By mid-afternoon, Jack could see the strategy was working. The alien was moving more slowly. Its movements were less fluid. The cold and constant exertion were taking their toll. As the sun began to set on the second day, Jack prepared for his final move. A storm was approaching from the north. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon. The temperature was dropping rapidly. Perfect conditions for a human. Terrible conditions for a creature adapted to a different world. Jack found a sheltered spot and quickly built a small fire. Not for warmth, but as bait. As expected, the alien approached the fire cautiously. It was visibly tired now, its movements stiff in the bitter cold. From his hiding place, Jack watched his enemy. He felt no fear now, only a grim determination. The hunter had made a terrible mistake coming to Earth. It had chosen the wrong species to hunt, and it had chosen the wrong human. The universe's most dangerous predator tried to hunt a human. Once Part 5. Predator becomes prey. The storm hit with full force. Snow and ice blew horizontally across the landscape. The temperature dropped well below zero. For Jack, these conditions were harsh but survivable. He had trained in Arctic environments during his military service. His body knew how to conserve heat. His mind knew how to fight the creeping numbness. For Zixkrath, the storm was a nightmare. The Vorax homeworld was warm, with stable weather patterns. Nothing in his experience had prepared him for an Alaskan blizzard. His body's temperature regulation was failing. Ice formed on his outer plates. His movements became slower with each passing minute. Yet the hunter refused to call his ship for extraction. In 8,000 years of Vorax hunting history, no hunter had ever abandoned a hunt. It would bring shame upon his entire lineage. He would complete this hunt or die trying. Jack moved through the storm like a ghost. The wind covered any sounds he made. The blowing snow masked his heat signature. He had become nearly invisible to the aliens' tracking systems. He circled back toward the fire he had built earlier. As expected, the alien was still there, trying to absorb the heat from the dying flames. Jack studied his enemy carefully. The creature was in trouble. Its movements were jerky. Its breathing seemed labored. Jack felt no pity. This thing had come to Earth to kill. It had chosen him as its target. Now it would learn the consequences. He raised his rifle and fired twice. The bullets pinged off the alien's armor plating, but the impacts were enough to get its attention. Zixkrath whirled around, searching for the source of the attack. Jack was already moving to a new position. He fired again from a different angle, then again from another spot. The alien turned in circles, confused and disoriented in the blinding snow. This was how humans had hunted for thousands of years before they invented weapons. Not with superior strength or speed, but with superior endurance and intelligence. Wear the prey down, confuse it. Attack from multiple angles. Never stop, never rest. Zixkrath was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible miscalculation. Humans were not prey. They were something else entirely. The Vorax hunter activated his emergency beacon, calling his ship. He needed to report this discovery before it was too late. Jack saw the alien manipulating something on its wrist. Another device. He couldn't allow communication. He raised his rifle and aimed carefully, waiting for the perfect moment. When the alien turned slightly, exposing a gap between its armor plates, Jack fired. This time, the bullet found flesh. The alien roared in pain as blue blood sprayed onto the snow. The device on its wrist sparked and died. Zixkrath felt fear for the first time in his long life. True fear. The kind of fear prey feels when it knows death is coming. His ship was not responding. His weapons were depleted after 2 days of hunting. His body was failing in the extreme cold, and somewhere in the blizzard, a human was hunting him. At the research station, Commander Wright and his team monitored Jack's position via his phone signal. The Special Forces team was ready to move in, but Wright had followed Jack's advice to wait. "He's got it on the run," Wright said, watching the signals move across the screen. "Mason is actually hunting the damn thing." Diane looked worried. "The storm is getting worse. Jack can't survive out there much longer." "You'd be surprised what Mason can survive," Wright replied. "I've seen him operate in conditions that would kill most people. If anyone can make it through this, it's him." In the heart of the storm, Jack had the alien cornered against a rock face. There was nowhere left for it to run. The hunter had become the hunted. Jack stepped into view, rifle aimed at the alien. For a long moment, they stared at each other across the snow-swept clearing. Predator and prey, though the roles had been reversed. The alien spoke, its voice a series of clicks and growls that somehow formed words Jack could understand. Technology, he guessed. Some kind of translation device. "You are not," Like others, the alien said. Its voice labored. No, Jack agreed. We're not. Many worlds, many hunts, never failed. Until now. Jack kept his rifle steady. You chose the wrong planet, the wrong species. The alien seemed to consider this. Not prey, it said finally. Hunters, like us. We're nothing like you, Jack said. We don't kill for sport. Respect, the alien said. My people will know. Before Jack could respond, a blinding light cut through the storm. A massive shape descended from the clouds, a ship unlike anything Jack had ever seen. It hovered silently above them, sending snow swirling in all directions. Jack raised his rifle, prepared to fight to the end. But the wounded alien made a gesture, holding up all four hands, palms outward. No more hunt, it said. You win. A beam of light shot down from the ship surrounding the alien. Before it disappeared, Zixcrath looked at Jack one last time. We will tell others. Do not hunt humans. Then the alien was gone, pulled up into the ship. The massive vessel rose, silently, disappearing into the clouds as quickly as it had appeared. Jack stood alone in the storm, his rifle still raised. Had that really happened? Or was he hallucinating from exhaustion and cold? His radio crackled. Jack, do you copy? We saw something on radar, something big. I copy, Jack replied, his voice hoarse. It's over, they're gone. 3 hours later, a military helicopter picked up Jack from Ridge Peak. He was suffering from exposure and exhaustion, but would recover fully. As the helicopter flew him back to the research station, Jack looked down at the wilderness below. It seemed unchanged, peaceful in the aftermath of the storm. But Jack knew that everything had changed. Earth was not alone in the universe, and he had sent a message to the stars. Humans are not prey. In the vast museum on the Vorax homeworld, a new display was added. Unlike the thousands of trophies from successful hunts, this display held only an image, a scan of Jack Mason taken during the hunt. Beneath it, in the Vorax language, a warning was written. The most dangerous predators in the universe are not Vorax. They are human. Do not hunt them. It was the only failed hunt in Vorax history. It would also be the last. The universe's most dangerous predator had tried to hunt a human. Once,